Back then, it was probably more populated with African Americans, which the integration of different ethnicities, nationalities here today, it's not a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just different. But times are different. You know what I'm saying? The generation is different. And they're different in every aspect of life. The way kids think today, the way they operate, the things they do and say. Even little babies, my little grandchildren, are speaking to me with sentence of clarity that I remember when I was growing up, we were nowhere close. You know what I'm saying? We could get one or two words out, but the way things are now, it's like life is moving so fast. And biblically speaking, if I would relate this to the Bible, in the Bible there's a paragraph, there's a scripture that says that the world is more wiser, but it's more wickeder right now. And I'm like, wow, and it's blowing my mind when I see how intelligent, how intellectual these children are, how fast life is moving on us right now. So I'm really having a great but difficult time, if you understand that, because things that were said are coming to pass now. So I remember as far back as we were living in the Army Street projects, and my mother and my father, they moved over to Bayview, Hunters Point. I had to have been roughly about 12, 13, somewhere around there in the vicinity of that area. But anyway, me and all my brothers, it was 7 boys and 2 girls, and we bombarded Bayview, Hunters Point, right here on Pollutant 3rd Street, where all the action and all the activity is going on. Boys and girls running up and down the street. We were all just running off in life, having fun, going to school, getting our money from our mothers and fathers, and we were just having a really good time. Bayview was a different look from Army Street projects. We was living in a big home, and all the brothers and sisters, we were just having a good fun, a lot of time fun. Well, all of them, man. I remember when we wasn't just hanging out on Third. The thing ain't on, is it? I mean, if it is, it's okay. I mean, we didn't just hang out there. I mean, we had fun. We chased the girls up and down. All the little different Jew joints that was up and down the street, from store to store, from Nuka to the gym, playing basketball. I mean, we was just running rapidly. Life was fun. We was just having fun.
As a pastor?
Right now, I wear so many different hats. I work with a lot of CBO, community-based organizations, Brothers Against Guns. I work with another brother, Rudy Corpus, on South Market. I work with any entity that's really making a difference, that's doing something different, that's really about our community, about our children, about our neighborhoods, about our streets as it relates to our corners and our blocks now, because that's what it has narrowed down to. Now we don't look at it as Bayview, Hunters Point no more. Now they look at it as Crusader. Now they look at it as Nuka. They're looking at it as streets and blocks. So I have to fall to their level and deal with them like that. And not only do I work with a lot of the CBOs, I work with the police department. Steve Ford, he's the captain of the police department here in Bayview, a really good guy. I work with everybody that's trying to do something to really make a difference other than. I am really, honestly speaking, technically speaking, I'm really displeased with the function of Bayview, Hunters Point right now, with the type of economics that flow through San Francisco and the resources that are here that are very adamant here and that we don't have in our possessions to really look after mental health, fight against the violence, the black-on-black violence, the poverty status, the blight that we see in this Bayview, Hunters Point. But there's monies here and there's services here that can take care of this stuff. And I just don't think we have the right people in position that really have the real heart to do the work. I don't point.
Your contamination?
Terrible. Actually, when this thing first blew up, it was a brother named Chris Carpenter that came to us and to the Muslims, and they asked us. Matter of fact, he told us we were dealing with something because the school was right across the street from where he were working at, and this company called Leonard. They were digging in partial A and partial B back there, and he said it's a lot of asbestos. It's fine. And when we looked at the children, they were all covered in white fume, and we agreed that it was something. So we got together with some ministers, myself, Christopher Muhammad, Bishop Birch, a lot of us, and we went over there and we shut them down. And when we shut them down, that's when it all ignited from the whistleblower, who was Chris Carpenter, who is now deceased now, and he died from cancer. So since that time, and the war had begun, fighting with that element of partial A and partial B, we've discovered other elements that it went from asbestos to something even more dangerous than asbestos, that the government was responsible for, that they never cleaned up that contaminated area before they started building there. My assessment would be disastrous. In my mind, I consider it disastrous.
Of Hunters Point.
I mean, let's look at the regentrification of Hunters Point. I just found out maybe a month or so ago, as it relates to housing authority. They're getting out of the business of running housing authority. The government is getting out of the business, and they're raffling out these developments, all these developments across the city and county of San Francisco, to different companies, different agencies, different people who run businesses like that. And what I found out is that one of my daughters was trying to get on the lease. She's like 33 years old, was trying to get on the lease with her cousin, and they told her she couldn't. If you're at the age of 24, you cannot get on that lease. And I'm saying, well, look, most of our children, African-American kids, are just leaving their parents' home at 23, 24, or coming out of school, out of college, and you telling me, but it wasn't like that at first. At first, it was, you had to be in good standards to get on somebody's lease. If not, then we understood that. But now you're putting a label, a stipulation of a number, and it affects mostly all African-American young kids that are growing up and moving out of their parents' home now. So it costs you $300 to $4,500 to live in a one-bedroom house on the open market. They can't afford that. They're just coming out of their mama's and daddy's house. They're not rich. They can't do that. So where do that leave these children? That sends them out of the city. They couldn't simply afford to live here. So when I addressed Barbara Smith, who's over Housing Authority here in San Francisco, she said, well, Jeff, we did this 2 years ago, and we asked everybody to get on the lease. Well, you can't rush to get on the lease. What do you mean? So, that's just another form of regentrification. The rent going sky high is just another form of regentrification. African Americans, and now you got these people from down the highway that moving all up here. Oh, so let me help you guys. I remember hearing on the news that if you make six figures, then you are wanting to low income. 6 figures, low income. Something don't make sense there. If you make 6 figures now, you qualify for low income. So where do that put people that are really low income people at? And whose money are they going to accept first? Would they accept somebody that's AFDC? Would they accept somebody that's Section A? Or will they accept somebody actually making 6 figures first? You're talking about regentrification here, right? Okay.
So how do you restore others?
Simply by, first of all, biblically, I'm a man of God. So I'm restored, I'm regenerated by my spirit that's in me, which calls on my higher power, my God. Now, that's not for everybody, but that's for me. And I offer not only that to everybody, but I offer to standing up fighting against the elements that are fighting against us. And I tell us we can't do it individually. We have to do this thing collectively. We have to speak truth to power. And when we do that, we sometime come ahead, or at least we're able to expose the ills that are going on, where we can get some regress from it, somebody to talk back to us, rather than us just settling for what they're doing to us. Maybe I don't know that one of my probably best scriptures. The Lord is my shepherd. Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restored my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valleys, the shadows of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of all of my enemies, and thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of righteousness, the Lord. Amen.
Pastoral reflection.
Wow, wow. You know, it's so crazy. Wow.
Come on with it now.
I try to be fair. My job is, and I try not to be judgmental. It's not my job. But the role of the church as it relates to the community, historically speaking, the church has always been an entity to intervene when there's trouble in the land. When the king in the Old Testament, when the kings couldn't figure it out, they would call on the prophets. They would call on the people who had the power of God, and they were able to surrender better selections, better understanding to what was going on, give better dispositions. And still, the power still lies in the church. And I believe that if the church would embed itself more in the community. When I say the church, I'm not talking about the structure, the building. I'm talking about the people who believe or claim to believe in a God, who trust them where other people don't care about that, but that they trust them, that they will not only come out of the church, but be seen, be very adamantly about what they say, and be passionate and be real about it. Otherwise, don't say something that you don't mean. Don't say something that ain't right. Don't do things, you hear me, that you know you shouldn't do, but do things the way it should do, that everybody can reap the benefits, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, I'm a pastor now, so you know, but I do still be real. I remember one of my childhood girlfriends. She was high yellow. She was pretty. She was fine. She had all the curves, and I just thought that I was going to end up marrying her, having all my babies by her. And I used to I get out of school, wouldn't do my homework. I would go to her house right up there in West Point and hang out with her. And before you know, I just knew I was in love. And I don't know that she knew that I loved her, but I was in love with her, so in love with her. I don't think she never knew it, but I knew I had to pull away from her because I had clinged too close to her, and my heart was in her. But I just thought this was my childhood girlfriend. I just thought me and her was going. Yeah, but you know, life don't go the way you think it is all the time. There's some unforeseen stuff behind the scenes that's gonna happen to you that you're gonna have to adjust and readjust to, and it happened. But I don't even think to this day she knew I was in love with her.
Okay, and to wrap it up, what can you say about what bodes well for the future for yourself and over Hunters Point?
There's a coat that I wear. It says, to save the hood. How do it go? It's a coat that I be wearing. I forget just how it really go. Rudy Corpus gave it to me. It's come from it. It's a slogan that he made. It has something to do with being in the hood. It takes the hood to save the hood. I've embraced that. Whatever hood is to you, some professionals don't digest that, don't really understand that, but I'll put neighborhood, if you can't understand hood to hood, neighborhood. It's the same thing, you know what I'm saying? We're just speaking different, and many people speak different. But that would be, first and foremost, it takes the hood to save the hood. Whatever's in my hood and having problems, it's my job to really help them. Has nothing to do with black on black or ethnicities, but people have problems, period. So that's my job, to help people. I love doing it, and because I got help. Number one. Number two, I see myself somewhere down the line living in the hood and dying in the hood. That's what I don't care, and I've been all over the world. Listen to me, let me be honest with you. I've been all over the world with illegal purchases. Do you hear what I'm saying? But when God brought me into my right mind, I'm here now. I'm here, and I have all the riches that I need to do what I need to do. So I wouldn't mind dying in my hood. You know what I'm saying? All my riches is in my hood. Even though my hood is somewhat changing, but people are people.
Parents come from? You said they came from?
My mother came from Mississippi,
Okay.
and my father came from Memphis. They're right next door to each other. And my mother came out here. My father sent her out here when he went to the Army because there was a lot of racists in the South, and they said they didn't want to raise their kids out there. They made a good move, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, most of my family, well, my father's was 13, 14 deep. My mother was like 12 or 13 deep. I come from two big families, and a lot of them migrate out here on my father's side, not my mother's side. Most of her family migrated to Chicago. So I have family all over this country. I mean, huge. Here in California, I got family. It's a big family of us. And if you do the history on Branners, you'll find out some bunch of us here. Sacramento is a bunch of them, and Palo Alto is a bunch of them. So we've done so much of the family stuff, we decided to share. There's not many families that have family reunions. There's not many families that have family picnics now. African-American families that still do this. We have a huge family, and we have decided over the years and decades to keep that going from our ancestors.